What's up, y'all? One Piece, One Life here. And when you're starting a new series of anything, be it like, a book, a movie, or in this case, an anime or manga series, you're bound to be asked the question who your favorite character is. What was your favorite character? What was their favorite moment? Why do you like them? Because, when you're reading something and you're watching something, you just get attached to characters. That's just how stories work. And One Piece is no different. So I feel like today I need to tell y'all my top 10 favorite One Piece characters, just so that, it's a standard thing that everyone does. Who's your favorite One Piece character? I get to explain myself to y'all get to know a bit about me. So that's what today's video is going to be about. I am putting one rule to my choice, which is that I cannot pick more than one Straw Hat to be on the list. And the reason that I'm doing that is because if I was, then my top 10 would, about half of them would be Straw Hat only characters, which I feel like would not be fun for y'all to just know characters that are fairly obvious, or at least the Straw Hats, they're the main characters, so of course people are gonna like them. So I've just limited myself to only one Straw Hat, which if you see the thumbnail of this video, you probably can guess who it is. Really quickly, I'm going to run through some honorable mentions that I have. And first up, Don Quixote Doflamingo. Now, Doflamingo interests me less because of who he is and more because of who he knows and what he's connected to, right? Because you had the fact that he was a former king of Dressrosa before, when he was taking it over. You have the fact that he's a former celestial dragon. You have the fact that he was Joker, the underworld broker. Doflamingo ran the streets. Is that fair to say? I think that's fair to say. His string fruit is also surprisingly versatile for what you expect his string to be or what you expect string to do. I didn't think that he'd be able to pull out that many different techniques with it, but he found a way. It's kind of like Luffy in that way, where it's at base it seems like a useless power, but then it grows into something that can actually be quite dangerous depending on how the user uses it. And can we please talk about his fit? I mean, look at this. Look at it. The white butt open shirt showing his abs, and then the pink feather cape, and then the sunglasses. Those, oh my goodness. Doflamingo's fit is exceptional. My second honorable mention is Boa Hancock. And okay, look, who wouldn't pick Boa Hancock? Look at her. But that's not the only reason I chose her, obviously. I also chose her because I feel like a lot of people in the community underestimate where her strength actually is. I've always seen her as really strong, but I just don't feel the same movement in the community. So in my story, I've actually moved to make her, I've done what I think I could to make her relatively stronger compared to at least what she's shown in the manga. Because in the original series, it's kind of shown to be not a glass cannon, but a one-trick pony of Mellow Beam, and it should work 99% of the time, but if it doesn't, then I'm screwed. And my third honorable mention is gonna be Kaido, King of the Beasts. First of all, black character in anime, Wura, but he's literally called King of the Beasts for a reason. He looks like a beast, he moves, he acts like a beast. Everything about him just screams monster, even from the first time that he ever dropped down from that sky island to when he was being jumped by 17 different people and holding up an island and still fighting. He's different. Kaido's fruit is also busted. I mean, not only do you become a massive dragon, you can also just have reign over the elements, apparently, like lightning, wind, fire. And I also particularly love his Conqueror of Three Worlds Ragnarok move, the one where he twirls the baton and then slams it down. The way that the anime has animated Gear 5 versus Kaido is just, it makes me so happy. And I'm so happy that I'm recording it after this so that I can actually show images of it. But with my honorable mentions out of the way, number 10, Kuzan. Now the thing about Kuzan is, it's interesting to me because before this year, I didn't know that I liked Kuzan as much as I do now. I never liked Kuzan as much as I do now, but this year has proved me different. First of all, ever since he left the Marines, his fit, his drip, his clothing style has been impeccable. Has been so cold, no pun intended. I mean, when he was wandering, like the wandering, we didn't really know what he was doing when he showed up at the end of Punk Hazard, even in the same kind of fit in Film Z, even though that was not canon. And then even now his fit with Blackbeard with the cape and ooh. And I also love the fact that he's mysterious. Like we don't really know, like he's actually the most mysterious known character in the show because we know Kuzan, like he's made quite a few appearances, but we don't know his goal. We don't know his justice. We don't know why he joined up with Blackbeard. We know that he's not just randomly evil now, because that wouldn't make any sense for his writing, but we still don't know his plans. And that's exciting to me. And then even with the new chapter, the most recent one, not the most recent chapter, but a recent chapter about 1081, I think was his own personal chapter as a member of the Blackbeard Pirates, where we got the flashback with him facing down all of Blackbeard's like major crew members and not even breaking a sweat. He remained completely cool. Again, no pun intended. Number 9, Charlotte Katakuri. For a long time, Katakuri was actually my like favorite antagonist in One Piece, and besides maybe Kaido, I think he still is. I think it's really cool the way that he represents just symbolically being the better version of Luffy in like literally every aspect, right? Like the way that Oda made his bounty 1,057,000,000 because Luffy's number is 56. His Paramecia Dough Fruit, special Paramecia Dough Fruit, is essentially the superior to Luffy's Gomu Gomu no Mi in terms of like stretching capabilities, everything like that. On top of that, his haki is better than Luffy's. He's bigger than Luffy, physically stronger in certain aspects. So it's like he was all better than Luffy in so many ways. So that was the version of Luffy that Luffy himself had to beat to prove that that was a better version of Luffy. Luffy beat him to surpass his own limits. I really like that. The whole whether he let him win, I don't want to talk about it. His abilities are cool, right? He has a special Paramecia Dough Fruit, which was our introduction to more subclasses. He has Dough Fruit Awakening, which in and of itself is cool. And most especially with Katakuri, honestly, is Future Sight. The use of Future Sight and its applications now in like especially higher tier combat of One Piece is going to be immense going forward, especially now that we know that Shanks has it. I wouldn't be surprised if Mihawk has it. I wouldn't be surprised if Eam has it. Dragon. I'm sure that a lot of the top tiers are going to start having these advanced forms of haki. I mean, his biker outfit is really cool. Like, who doesn't like the spikes, the scarf, even like the reason why he hides his mouth, the fact that he's always trying to be the perfect brother, and even that segue going right into his backstory with Brule, his backstory with his family. He's the second in command of the entire fleet, so he always is like looked to as the one when Big Mom's going crazy. He's the one who's looked to of what do we do. He's always trying to be the perfect brother, and he doesn't want to show that he's anything but that. I really think that is symbolic in a way that it speaks to me. Number 8, Monkey D. Garp. I mean, I don't need to sit here and explain why Garp is him, right? We can all agree Garp is him. We've seen everything that Garp has done in the past year and has put him easily in most people's top 10s, even in some people's top 5s. Being the hero of the Marines for so long, he's a legendary figure, right? He was fighting with people like Roger, Rox, Whitebeard, all in their primes. He also has advanced Conqueror's haki, and to this date, I'm pretty sure, at least personally, I consider what he did on Hachinosu to be the single greatest haki feat we've seen in the story thus far. Galaxy Impact revolutionized the way that haki could be used, and I'm so glad too, because I thought that in my story haki could be used that way, but I didn't want to stretch too much from what the original source material was doing. So I'm so glad that Oda introduced Galaxy Impact. Now, we all know that Garp is really strong, no one's contesting that, but I also really like Garp because I kind of understand his role in the Paramount War, and I think a lot of people don't, where his whole role during that war, I feel, is to show the dichotomy between duty and family, right? Ace is on the scaffold. Ace is a pirate, so his duties tells him, I have to execute this pirate for what it means. But on the other side, Ace is his family, and he can't bear to watch. So that's why he sat down on the scaffold, but he's not doing anything because he doesn't want to be on the Marine side because of his family, but he also doesn't want to be on Ace's side because of the Marines. It's an interesting dichotomy, interesting duality. I really think that Oda played with that well. And even like the way that people will say, oh, but he switched up after Akainu killed him and wanted to kill Akainu. Of course he did. He's emotional. He just saw his grandson get magma fisted. That sounds crazy. Yeah, Garp. Go. Number 7. Edward Newgate, aka Whitebeard. Talking of legends, we have to keep the train rolling with the man with probably the greatest beard in history. Obviously a legend, right? And something that interested me that I found is like, I don't know if I'm the only one who thinks this, but his Del fruit is surprisingly has more applications than you would think for the Quake fruit, right? I mean, obviously the basic application that most people think of is Quake Bubble, Quake Punch, simple. But I mean, it's not like he's stretching out and doing some crazy stuff with it, but the few applications that he does find for, like coating a specific place with the Quake to crack only that place, coating his weapon. He had that Naginata that he had, Murakumo Giri, and he coated that in the Quake bubble. He can, punch in the air to create like tsunamis and stuff like that. So, Whitebeard had his Delphi for a long time too, so that he was training with it a whole lot. But not only is his Delphi real cool, he is easily the best father figure in One Piece history, I believe. And it's crazy because he's a better father to people who he's not the biological father of than actual fathers to their biological children. I really like the way that he treated his family, his crew like a family. He essentially saw everybody as his sons, to the point that he would go to war with the strongest policing force in the world over one of his sons. Of course he would. And he has the power to back it up because he's Whitebeard. Even the way he died, he died standing up, which I found out recently is actually a reference to Benkei or Bankei. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but it's I think Japanese hero or Japanese folk legend where he essentially did the same thing, standing up, dying while standing up, just to show that no matter what, he's still like him. He's still strong. Even in death, he stands tall. And that's exactly what Whitebeard did. Even with all of those wounds, the narrator came on and said he had how many wounds of this, how many bullets, how many swords, but not one hit his back because he never ran away. That is a man. And we even know some more about him. He had the second highest bounty in history as of right now was on the Rocks crew. And his past self was even more badass, as we saw in the Odin flashback. When that clash between him and Roger, I still dream about that clash sometimes, genuinely. And one of the ways that that Whitebeard is so badass is that he has a big mustache and calls it a beard, and not one person calls him out on it. Because who's gonna call him out on it? What are you gonna do to contest him? He's Whitebeard. If he says it's a beard, it's a beard now. Number 6, Silver Israeli, the Dark King. General, he's always portrayed as just really suave, really cool, really powerful. Even in his old age, it's one of those old good men in anime trope. It's just how it goes. On top of that, obviously, he's the training mentor for Luffy. Mentors are always going to be portrayed in a certain light. But when he showed up on Sabaody in handcuffs in the gambling or auction house, and then easily broke out, and then knocked whoever he wanted to sleep immediately, that's when I knew he was different. I mean, so much so that even in his old age, he's like 70 something now, I believe. Even in this old age that he is, Blackbeard is still not trying to fight him when he hears Rayleigh's in town. Rayleigh came out from a swim and said, "What's going on here?" Blackbeard said, "Oh, no. I'm not trying to fight you." The whole, "Oh, Blackbeard will probably beat me." We're discounting that because we absolutely scale by threat and by portrayal. But then obviously back in his prime, he was even more him. What we saw of him during Odin's flashback was marvelous. I know it's anime only, but I really liked the part in the anime where the Whitebeard pirates and the Roger pirates were fighting, and he stopped Marco's attack with just like one finger stretched out like this. That was so dope. You know, obviously he's gonna be that kind of cool character. The Zoro to Roger's Luffy, the King to Roger's Kaido, the Beckman to Roger's Shanks. That's just how it is. There's always gonna be a amazing captain and a almost as amazing, if not equally as amazing, first mate. That dynamic is always played up in One Piece. Number 5, Kozuki Oden. When you think of the biggest I am him moments in One Piece, half of them are Oden's. I mean, the way that everything he does, his tale is explained to us in his flashback, it's literally like an epic, right? Like, think of Odysseus in the Odyssey, or Achilles in the Iliad, or Gilgamesh. All of these like heroes that are like stronger, superhuman strength, and then just do all of these crazy feats. That's literally how Oden is portrayed his entire life. Two Sword style was also really cool to see. I feel like he's the only character that we really gave us an insight into Two Sword style, right? Because we really focus either on Three Sword style with Zoro, special cases where they have more swords because of whatever anatomy they have, or usually most people have one sword. So the two sword, you know, most people have two hands. I feel like that was cool to see. Let's not lie, we all know he would have beaten Kaido if not for that old hag's trickery. Like, that doesn't need to be said, right? He was gonna win. And then there's the Hour of Legend, and I don't think people actually grasp how amazing and like how much of a feat the Hour of Legend is. Holding up 9 of your vassals, 2 of which are big minks, on your nothing but your pure muscle for an hour in boiling oil. Nah, Oden was him. I won't take Oden disrespect. To be fair, I don't see Oden disrespect, but if there is, I'll fight it. And of course, the legacy that he left behind to all of his followers, you know, open the dawn, bring a new age to Wano, defeat Kaido, beat back Orochi. Like, everything that happened in the Wano arc is because of him. Even the way that he died with a smile on his face. Kind of similar to other people who die with smiles on their face. Y'all stay subscribed and stay tuned. May have a video about a theory on Oden coming out soon. Number 4, kinda obvious, but Trafalgar Law. Like I said, it's probably an expected answer, but who doesn't like Law? You're crazy if you don't like Law, in my opinion. He was made to be cool. To be fair, most people liked him since they met him at Sabaody. I only really started gelling with him in Punk Hazard when he came out and greeted Smoker, because that entrance panel, that return, ooh, so amazing. His Devil Fruit is literally one of the craziest and most powerful because it literally has at least 10 different powers in it, potentially more. I mean, what's there not to love about Law? I mean, he has one of the best backstories in all of One Piece, introducing us to Corazon, who honestly I should have put as an honorable mention. He has like one of the dopest hats in the series, polar bears on his crew, and honestly his drip is always phenomenal. Can we talk about Law's drip for a moment? The black trench coat at Punk Hazard with just his sword, and then like the longer trench coat that he had that he left open in Dressrosa, and then the yellow shirt and blue feather cape in Wano. Law consistently has some of the best fits I've seen in the series. Side note, just thought of this now, but it's actually a possibility when you think about it. What if the reason that Law wore that blue feather cape during the raid on Onigashima is to parallel Doflamingo's pink one, and it's kind of a symbolic way of saying that he came to terms with everything that happened in his flashback, the Doflamingo family. Now that Doflamingo's defeated, he kind of like gained closure from that, you know, possibility. He was also a warlord at some point and orchestrated the Rocky Port incident, which we need to know more about because Wang Zhi was involved, Blackbeard was involved, Kobe was involved. And then of course you get the immortality surgery, which obviously that plot point has to come back ahead at some stage. So I don't think Law is written off just because he lost to Blackbeard or anything like that. Number 3, Marco the Phoenix. Now he's one where a lot of people may be wondering, really? Marco is this high for you? But yes, Marco has been my go since the Paramount War when he was out here tussling with the Navy admirals. He gave that kick to Kizaru, and Kizaru said, whoa. Kizaru always says that, but like, to be one of the characters to make Kizaru back up, that's a feat. His Phoenix Fruit is not only, you know, a mythical zone that allows him to fly, which is canceling out one of, if not the biggest, weakest to Devil Fruit users, but he also can literally endlessly heal himself and to some extent others. That's wildly useful. Also, when you put in perspective Marco's story, it's honestly really sad if you think about it. Like, you really feel for him, you know? So like, imagine you're Marco, right? Marco, you've been with the Whitebeard Pirates from when you were a kid, maybe like 15 years old. You're like, what, 40 something, in your 40s now? Or at least at the time of the Paramount War. You've been with Whitebeard your whole life. He's essentially your father. We don't know much about Marco's backstory, but come on. Whitebeard is his father. He was his first mate, for God's sake. Imagine that your brother was captured chasing after a pot-bellied hairy man that you used to think of as a brother. You and your family goes to war for that brother that chased him down and got captured. And then all for nothing because that brother dies. That was emotional blow one. Then you see the same pot-bellied hairy man get his crewmates and jump your dad to steal his devil fruit and kill him. That's emotional blow two. And then the pot-bellied hairy man tracks you down a year later after the event and then beats you again. That's emotional blow three. After that point, that's when I feel like Marco was just like, you know what? I'm tired of this pirate life. I need to just retire to Sphinx and become a doctor or something. But then, you know, he heard of the Onigashima plan and he was like, this is my last hurrah. I gotta try it. And you know what? He did. And he was the MVP. For real, the Onigashima battle proved to me that Marco had to be in like one of my top favorite characters. Because I don't think it's crazy to say that Marco was the MVP of Onigashima raid, right? We can say that makes sense. Look at how many things he did. Flew Zoro to the roof, helped Chopper fight off the Ice Oni virus, and most importantly, was tussling with both King and Queen at the same time for an extended period of time. That's not an easy feat. So yeah, Marco, very sad story, but you know, he has a pineapple head, so there's that too. Number 2, red-haired Shanks. This is another expected pick, but who doesn't like Shanks? I mean, he has an amazing design, right? Badass, one-armed swordsman, red hair, cloak. He was always gonna be cool. He's the main character's idol, right? The one that Luffy looks up to. Idol figures, just like mentor figures, they're always going to be portrayed in an amazing light, because if not, then what is the main character like looking forward to and like wanting to surpass, right? So obviously Shanks is going to be like hyped up like that. But then you put it into perspective. Shanks is in 23 manga chapters. That is literally 2% of the manga. He's in 2% of the manga and is still revered as one of the strongest and most hyped characters in the series. Nah, he's different. And the fact that he and his crew, as far as we know, don't really have devil fruits. It's just their skills, their hockey, their fighting, they're just all really good at that. And I mean, Howling Gab, fair enough, he may have some shouting based ability. We're not really sure. It was at least not confirmed. So as of right now, yeah, they're essentially just hockey people. And Shanks himself being a hockey man, you know, like, everyone knew that Shanks would end up being a hockey man from the way that Oda was portraying him, with all 3 forms, advancements in all 3 forms, when he used Future Sight in 1079, and especially the way that every time Shanks is portrayed using hockey, it's to disrespect somebody. I mean, Wi-Fi hockey against Green Bull has to be second best feat of a Advanced Conquerors user, right after Galaxy Impact. But that really put Green Bull in his place. Like, that was the chapter that solidified in everybody's collective minds that Green Bull is the worst admiral, because no matter of whether the other admirals would have actually left Wano or not, even if they did leave, they would not leave scared and trembling in their boots. You think Fujitora and Kizaru is doing?
Oh no, Shanks is here.
I promise you that's not happening. And then a few chapters later, we get Divine Departure with Advanced Conquerors Haki to take down Kid. And can I just go on a side note for a moment, a tangent, a rant, if you will? I'm so glad that this happened. This was potentially the best thing that's happened to me this entire year for One Piece. The fact that Kid is gone lifts my spirit. I'm so happy that actual Shanks put, as Grand Line Review would say, junkyard Shanks in his place. Shanks was out here thinking that he was, the best thing since sliced bread, because he was out here apparently beating emperors of the sea. We all know that Kid did very, very little. Law did more, also still little. But Kid especially has no talk. He's high off his head thinking, oh, I beat an emperor, let me go beat another. And I'm glad Shanks put him in his place. He needed to go. Kid can die for all I care. Like, if Kid never appeared again, because who's saving him? Kid is currently drowning. Who's saving him? That's what I want to know. It's been a day. Who saved him? No one? That's what I thought. I'm glad Kid is dead. To all Kid fans, I hope you're sad. And you, I don't know, did a funeral for Kid or whatever, whenever that happened. I personally read that chapter and cried tears of joy. You guys cried tears of pain. I cried tears of joy. I'm glad Kid is gone. This is even making me think that I need to do a top 10 most hated characters of mine in One Piece. And guess who's gonna be on it? But yeah, Shanks, another GOAT. Number 1, Vinsmoke Sanji. You probably knew from the thumbnail, but I'll say it again. Sanji is my favorite. He really is my favorite Straw Hat. He really is my favorite character. I feel like everything about Sanji is just really amazing to me. And I feel like Oda feels the same. I think Oda really, really enjoys writing Sanji's character, to the point there, he may even prefer writing Sanji as a character than writing Luffy as a character. Sanji is just the most complex. His fighting style is probably one of the most iconic fighting styles in not just One Piece, but anime period. Because who else is out here only fighting with kicks and feet? And the reason I say that is because in other anime, right, you can have, a lot of anime have really cool swordsmen. A lot of anime have people who punch. A lot of anime have elemental abilities. But when you think of anime that has a character known for kicks, Sanji's the only one that really comes to mind. Everything else is like a derivative of the Sanji effect. And the fact that there's an in-world explanation for why he only uses kicks, right? The fact that he's a chef. He needs his hands to, cook in the kitchen. So he doesn't want to use his hands to fight and risk damaging that, because he puts his pride as a chef first. His rivalry with Zoro is probably my favorite duo dynamic in the series. I just love whenever they're on panel together, on page, bickering, combo attacks. King and Queen versus Zoro and Sanji was one of my favorite stretch of chapters of the Onigashima raid. Yes, I am a Sanji fan 10 out of 10 times. If it's Sanji versus Zoro, I say Sanji regardless of the argument. I don't care. It's always Sanji. And then going a bit back to their roles, the common argument between Zoro and Sanji is obviously who's stronger. But the thing that I feel like people need to start asking isn't who's stronger, but what are their roles? Because if you think of it this way, Zoro is the combatant. Obviously he's gonna be strong because fighting is what he does. Sanji isn't a fighter. Sanji is a cook who happens to know how to fight, and fight really well as well. So whether Zoro is here and Sanji's here and it's something like that, obviously, first of all, we know, Sanji fans, let's not be dumb. We know Zoro is stronger at this point. He has advanced Conqueror's Haki. That singular ability already places him in a pedestal above what Sanji can do, just by basis of the fact Sanji doesn't have advanced Conqueror's Haki. But even then, whether it's here, 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 something like that, that doesn't matter, because Sanji isn't a fighter. That's not Sanji's role. That will never be Sanji's role, because as Luffy even said in Whole Cake Island, he can't become the Pirate King without Sanji making him food. Not without Sanji by his side fighting. Then there's, of course, his writing with his gag and his, his perviness, his, being enamored with women. Now, is it a lot of times? Yes. Was Fishman Island the most atrocious time to be a Sanji fan? Absolutely. And of course, I'm not condoning the pervy side of it. The whole trying to sniff people's clothes and see them through bathhouses and stuff like that. That can be written out of the story for all I care. That part is the part that isn't good. However, the part that I do think is good writing is the flip side of that, which is his chivalry, his raising women on a pedestal and not wanting to attack them even if they're attacking him, even if it costs him his life. The writing behind why that happens and the justification in Sanji's mind makes so much sense, because when he was growing up, the only people in the German kingdom who were kind to him were his sister Reiju and his mother Sora. His dad and his brothers all treated him horribly. So of course he's gonna get into his mind like, oh, or at least you can understand where he got the thought that, oh, women, they're helping me, men, they're not. I need to, like, you know, place women up here, right? It makes sense. Yeah, you know, Sanji will always be my GOAT. I know a lot of people don't like him. I know he is very decisive in the community. Sanji will always be my GOAT. He's just, everything about him is just so great. So that about wraps it up for this video, guys. Please, if you liked anything I had to say, even if you didn't and you want to fight in the comments, I'll be right there to fight with you. Just make sure that you like, comment down below your opinions, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. In the comments, let me know who your favorite characters are. I'm interested in seeing if people understand my reasonings for some of my characters, disagree, whatever. Let me know. So I'll catch y'all in the next video, and remember, one piece, one life.